Hello folks, so today we're going to be talking about irregular verbs. Irregular verbs are so much fun because, well, they're not. We are going to start out with something we know. We know regular verbs, and regular verbs can have three endings. They can end in AR, ER, or IR. One good example of a regular AR verb is the verb bailar. When we look at the verb bailar, we can split it up into two pieces. We can split it into the stem and the ending. So the first piece being the stem, we'd have bail, and the ending would be ar, bailar. Okay? So when we're conjugating a verb, we need to split up the stem from the ending in regular verbs. So what I've done here is I've put up a verb chart, which we should be pretty familiar with at this point. And here we have the stems of the verbs and the different conjugations. So when I conjugate a regular verb, all I need to do is add the appropriate ending. So we'd have yo bailo, tú bailas, él, ella, usted baila, nosotros bailamos, vosotros bailáis, and ellos, ellas, ustedes bailan. So we're going to follow the same pattern for ER verbs. And here I've put down the verb comer. Yo como, tú comes, él, ella, usted come, nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis, and ellos, ellas, ustedes comen. Just like we learned in Spanish 1 and 2, the endings for regular ER verbs are the same as AR verbs, only the A's change to E's. Now last we have regular IR verbs, and the example I chose here is escribir. Again, I put it up there for you. ER and IR verbs are very similar, except that in the nosotros and vosotros forms, they change a little bit. In nosotros, it changes from hemos to imos, and vosotros, it changes from es to is. So if we were to conjugate escribir, we'd have yo escribo, tú escribes, él, ella, usted escribe, nosotros escribimos, vosotros escribís, and ellos, ellas, ustedes escriben. So irregular verbs are verbs that change. They're not fun. Penny hates them, so she's leaving. Irregular verbs are pretty common. There's two very common ones that you should know right off the bat. The first one is ser, and it doesn't follow any of the rules that we just talked about when conjugating regular verbs. So here's your verb chart, and when we start to look at how the verb is conjugated, we'll start to see how irregular it is. So yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, usted es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, and ellos, ellas, ustedes son. And again, another verb that we should be very familiar with is a star. And again, as we conjugate it, we'll start to see that it is very irregular, especially some accents that it has that are dropped in that you need to be aware of. So yo estoy, tú estás, él, ella, usted está, nosotros estamos, vosotros estáis, and ellos, ellas, ustedes están. Again, be sure to pay attention to the accent marks for a star because it changes the meaning when you don't use them. Ir is another verb that's used a lot. Ir just means to go. Voy, vas, va, vamos, van. Should be very comfortable with that one as well. And the yogo verbs that you learned, especially those yogo verbs that you can remember from two commands. Let's ven, di, sal, as, ten, ve, ponce. If you say it quickly, it sounds like Vin Diesel as ten ve ponce. Not all of these are yogo verbs, but it does help us to remember which verbs are yogo verbs. So if you look at the chart here, you can see that the command ven comes from venir, and the yo form is vengo. Di comes from decir, the yo form is digo. Sal comes from salir, and the yo form is salgo. Az comes from hacer, the yo form is hago. Ten comes from tener, the yo form is tengo. And pone comes from poner, and the yo form is pongo.